Our next speaker is Felix van Soest. Felix is going to talk to us about the different costs of production diseases within Europe.
Yes, thank you. I'm not sure I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna finish in time. I have now 5 minutes extra, by the way. Yeah, thank you for attending my presentation. And I'm going to talk about something Henk has already mentioned in his presentation. I'm going to extend on that. I have applied the tool he has presented, so let's get on with it. So my question was, are the costs of dairy production disorders in European practice, are they over or underestimated? So by who could they be overestimated or underestimated? Who are the decision makers? Well, on the farm, it's the farmer. He's making the decisions, and at least part of his decision is influenced by economics, whether he likes it or not. Who helps him to make that decision is the veterinarian and is the farm advisor. They help him make decisions regarding animal health. But how well is their decision based upon economics? It's based on effectivity of a measure. Okay, that's fine. But in the end, it all comes down, does it save money for the farmer? So it may be that advisors, veterinarians, farmers are already really good in making these estimations. But we don't know. We simply don't know. And if they are really bad in it, they need help. And maybe we can provide some help. One important thing with veterinarians and with animal health advisors and also with farmers is that they have lots of data available. They know the number of sick animals on their farm. They know the production on their farm. They know their somatic cycle. They know everything. You can ask it to them. And based on that animal health record information, you can start making economic calculations yourself. But not every farmer or farm is the same. They differ. They differ in size. They differ in milk yield. They differ in diseases present. They differ in even the type of pathogen that causes the disease. So that's something that asks for an economic advice based on the specific circumstances of the individual farm. So what diseases are we talking about? Well, we know some things. Actually, we know a lot. From literature, we know a lot. So if I want to make a general estimation of the cost of a disease, that's not difficult. Let's say I have 100 dairy cows on my farm, 30 cases of mastitis, 30 times 596, and I have a fairly good, although be it rough, estimate of what the impact of mastitis would be on an average farm. But we're not talking about averages. We want to know, how does this farm perform in his specific circumstance? So based on a previous study performed in the Netherlands, we thought, okay, are veterinarians, are farmers, are animal health advisors actually good in making these estimates themselves? Because if they are, there is no need for us to come up with all these fancy tools that are already available. So we asked ourselves, first we asked the advisor, we asked the farmer, and we asked the veterinarian, okay, based on the herd health records of this specific farm, what would be the cost of a disease, of this disease, this specific disease? So one of those four. And then we took the liberty, we took the same data, same information, but applied a structured method. So we structured the cost for them, used the same input, and started calculating ourselves what we know from literature, what we know from experts. And then we thought, okay, are these in agreement with each other? So are they on the same level? To do that, we visited 121 farms across Europe, in Sweden, Germany, and Spain. All organically certified. That was because of the Impro project I'm involved in. And we started calculating. So we asked the farmer, okay, given your specific animal health status, given, let's say, the number of cases of mastitis on your farm, the somatic cell count, all the other figures that are important to you, what would be the cost of mastitis in your specific situation? We asked it to the farmer, we asked it to the veterinarian available, and to the animal health advisor available. And they came up with a figure. They thought that would be about right. And then we came up with our own tool. It's a tool Henk already mentioned before. And we applied it. And until so far, we only estimate until the failure cost. So only the costs that are attributed to the disease itself. So production losses, treatment costs, etc. So how does this structure then look? Well, you have all this information, and at every point in here, you can make changes. So the animal health information goes in, milk prices go in, feed prices go in, labor costs go in, as valued by the farmer, or as reported in the animal health records. And we end up with an estimate. So I'm first going to show you the structured method. So the structured method was the tool. It was the calculations we made based on the information available, and found out that in Germany, the most costly disease on a farm would be mastitis with 8,050 euros. Well, not very surprisingly, because mastitis is reported to be the most costly disease on a farm. But also lameness, ketosis, and metritis, well, they have their fair share to contribute to the cost of disease. Well, similar results we found for Spain, although be it that ketosis and metritis were a little bit lower. That had to do with input that was being given by the dairy farmers or the veterinarians. They said, well, because mastitis and lameness are fairly good reported and recorded by dairy farmers, but ketosis and metritis are, well, more or less reported. And it's difficult to make that clear from animal health records. So you have to ask the farmer, okay, how many cases of ketosis did you have last year? So, and if the Spanish say, no, we have a very low number of cases of ketosis last year, then, yeah, well, we believe them. It's their farm. It's their personal calculation. And then also in Sweden, again, mastitis being the most costly disease, lameness on a good second place, and then ketosis and metritis being a little bit lower. Okay, so now we know what we found in our structured method. How far off do you think farmers, veterinarians, and advisors were? So we're now going to talk about the overestimators. Overestimators, we define them as people or participants who overestimated the structured costs by more than 50%. When it comes to mastitis, a well-known disease, known by most veterinarians as a costly disease, and basic figures for a country are almost always present. Even 32% of the veterinarians, farmers, and advisors overestimated the cost of mastitis with more than 50%, which means that if the cost of mastitis on a farm were 10,000 euros, they overestimated it with more than 5,000 euros. And that's where they base their advice on. Or that's why farmers make decisions upon. But also for lameness, ketosis, and metritis, they overestimated the cost with more than 40%. They overestimated 40% overestimated the cost with more than 50%. But there were also underestimators. Mastitis was underestimated, was in 90% of the cases underestimated by more than 50%. So people thought, well, mastitis is not that costly. Or they thought, well, lameness is not that costly on this farm. It might very well be that they thought, well, based on what Henk just said, they did not recognize the subclinical losses. They only looked at, okay, these are the treatment costs I've made. But remember, these are the costs that decisions are made upon. So when a decision or when an advice is given, when a decision is made, it's always partly driven on costs, on economics. And if you're way off, don't base your base your decision on economics, because you will end up in the wrong lane. You will end up wrong. And even the bigger problem is even that the real problem might be missed. Because if you think, well, mastitis is a problem, you give it a high value, because farmers should give his attention to that specific disease. But it might very well be that the farmer is way more benefited by addressing ketosis in this situation. So you might miss the real problem on that farm. So there's a real risk in over and underestimating the cost. So there exists a need to start calculating in a structured method. And the structured method we used is only a starting point. Only a first initial estimate, okay, this is your current situation. And from here on, we're going to look forward. Okay, let's start applying preventive measures. Let's note what do they cost? And what have we gained in failure cost? What have we reduced in cost of, let's say, mastitis, let's say ketosis, whatsoever, what disease? So there's a need for a structured method to do so. And yes, you can start calculating these things yourself. As Henk already mentioned, he already gave a QR code for that tool. The tool is available as it was a part of the Impro project I was involved in. You can download it yourself. You can start calculating yourself, and you can do it yourself as a veterinarian, as a farmer, or as an animal health advisor, or as a researcher, just to prevent from overestimating or underestimating the cost of the disease. And finally, I'd like to thank the EU project Impro for funding, the researchers who did the economic, who did the field tests and visited the farmers, and I would like to acknowledge the participating farmers, veterinarians, and advisors on giving their opinion on the costs of these diseases. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Felix. It was a very interesting talk. Has anybody got any questions for Felix? Question up at the back there.
Soest, Germany. Thank you for the nice talk. I'm interested whether you can tell us if there were different profiles between the veterinarians, the farmers, and the advisors regarding the over and underestimation.
I cannot. But in the end, these are, what I know is that these, for instance, the veterinarians, they visited the farmers regularly. They visit them on a regular basis, so they should have some basic insights on how the farm was performing. But we did not ask them, okay, what is your background considering this, this, and this? No, no.
Anybody, any other questions? Felix, do you have any understanding or any idea, what's driving these under and overestimates? Is it purely just ignorance, or is there anything else about those type of people that?
No, it's not ignorance. I don't believe that. I think it's, as we already saw in the polls of Henk, it's difficult. It's also, when we were at the farm asking all three together, what would be the cost? We had some French farmers and veterinarians also included. I did not show the data here because most of the French veterinarians and farmers did not want to give answer to these cost estimations because they did not feel confident to give answers to this. So it's just insecurity.
Okay. Any further questions for Felix? Okay. Thank you very much for your very interesting talk.